Starting a podcast can feel really awkward sometimes, especially if you haven't really thought about it. Like, what am I going to say when I actually turn the mic on? You can end up kind of blabbering and saying, hey, welcome to the show. How are you? A lot of filler stuff that might allow the listener to bounce and, not listen to the rest of your episode. So if you think about one of the reasons that podcasts don't really get listened to, it's because one, they're not good. And two, even if they are good, in the first minute or 2 minutes of the show, you don't really get that impression. So in this video, I want to share 3 different ways that I found that you can start a podcast. This is from working on my own since 2016 and also from working on clients' podcasts since 2017. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. Number 1 is to do a formal intro. So, hey, welcome to the show. My name is blank. This is what the show is about. This is who it's for. Ideally, you're keeping this under 30 seconds. Typically, you'll hear music that's, in the background here. This can be a file that you plug and play at the beginning every time you're editing the episode, or it's something that you can do every time you start recording. Hey, my name is Ms. Bahak. Welcome to Pod Mahal. This is a show where we talk about blah, 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 right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is one of my favorites. It's called a rolling start. So this is something where you don't have a formal intro. You don't make it weird. You don't say, hey, how are you? And a lot of like fluff in the beginning. You kind of just dive into whatever you're talking about. And you might have some fluff in the beginning, but you can cut that out. The whole point is you start the episode somewhere in the middle of a conversation or story. This is something you might see on Joe Rogan where there was no formal intro, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, what are they talking about? 3-4 minutes go by and then they go, hey, all right, welcome to the show. Thanks for doing this, man. And you're like, wow, that was a really nice teaser. So that's one way to do it. It feels really natural and conversational. It doesn't feel forced. It can really help if you have a tough time, doing more of a formal intro. Number 3 is one of the most common and effective ways to actually do your intros, and it's to proceed with the conversation as you normally would. So you can do some of that, hey, how are you, whatever, get the guests comfortable. But then what you're going to do is find a juicy bit that's about 30 seconds, 15 seconds, sometimes maybe even up to a minute, somewhere in the middle of your show, and plug that into the beginning of the episode. So that way it starts off as kind of a teaser, like here's what's coming up in the episode, and then you can kind of cut to the intro or the beginning and kind of dive into the rest of the episode. So that's a very, very common one that you'll probably see in a lot of podcasts that you like, is the hook is essentially a piece of the conversation that happens later on anyways. You just copy and paste it to the beginning of your sequence so that just like a movie trailer or a show trailer, it makes the viewer or listener want to actually consume the rest of the content. So those are 3 different styles that you want to keep in mind. With all of these, the common denominator is going to be that the content is good and what you're talking about is interesting and or relevant to the rest of the episode, because you don't want it to be misleading. You don't want to title the episode something that it's not, and then when somebody listens to the intro or the first minute of this thing, they're like, this doesn't really seem to be what I expected. So you want to keep just listener experience in mind. When you would tune in to an episode, what do you like to hear? What kind of intro do you enjoy that doesn't feel super forced, that feels fun, and something that you can do? So let me know if you liked any one of these, and if you need any help, drop a comment or send an email to hi@podmahal.com, and I'd love to help you out.